the hard place. Like a wind from Goldland he sweeps by, blown far from his homeland in search of glory and honor. We walk in the garden of his turbulence.
Hey there, movie fans. Welcome to Movie Joust. I am Jason Evans. I'll be your host this week. We're going to be talking about a truly special film. And even though all three of us loved it, we're still going to joust about it because that's what we do here on the podcast. Joining me are Josh Sewell and Jesse Nussman. Gentlemen, are you ready to join the revolution?
Viva la revolution!
I think so. Let's do it.
Let's go!
I know we're so excited for this. Paul Thomas Anderson's latest film, One Battle After Another. An incredible comedy, action, thriller. Guys, before we start jousting, go ahead. Jesse, I'll call on you first. Try and limit it to 30 seconds or so.
Oh, geez.
Assessment of what I think all three of us believe is a strong contender to win multiple Oscars, including perhaps Best Picture.
I mean, this is just a truly special movie, and I'm sure I'll, talk more about my relationship to Paul Thomas Anderson, but this is my favorite filmmaker, and him doing a movie that both directly stares the American moment that we're in to the face, but also does it in a way that it keeps all of his idiosyncrasies and all of the wonderful things that make him Paul Thomas Anderson. And I kind of can't believe Warner Brothers gave him the money to make this. It is just, staggeringly relevant, but also funny, action packed. And I thought by the end, deeply, deeply moving movie that, not to spoil too much for people, but I was listening to Tom Petty today and crying in the car of that,
right?
To give a little tease to where this movie goes. But I'm just still riding off the high of this, and I think it's one of the more special, exciting American movies of the last 5 years, maybe even 10 years, I think.
I want to say, by the way, that we will get to spoilers. We are going to have a conversation where we get into, details about the plot, because that's what we do on here. But we'll keep it spoiler free for the moment. Josh, you're up next.
So I know you're not going to believe this, but three white dudes have some really positive things to say about Paul Thomas Anderson movies. But from my perspective, I'm not a PTA fanboy in the stereotypical sense whatsoever. Obviously, I love a lot of his movies. I respect more of them than I truly enjoy them. But this one, it's on a whole nother level. Coming from somebody who has been hot and cold on his filmography for the last 20, 25 years, from the opening moments of this film through that needle drop that Jesse was talking about, edge of my seat is a silly cliche in film critic terms, but I don't remember breathing. I don't remember having to get up and go to the bathroom. Every aspect of the film, from Leonardo DiCaprio's character to characters who were on the screen for maybe a couple of minutes, were all compelling enough and interesting enough that I wanted to see what happened next. And it engaged both sides of my brain, the snobby film critic part that I'm sure we're going to get into with spoilers, and also the guy who just wants to munch a bunch of terrible popcorn and yell at explosions. Both of those sides were satisfied.
Don't shame the popcorn at the movie theater. It's good.
Hey, I wasn't.
You lie. You like it.
I just gave it a compliment.
The thing I feel about PTA, about Paul Thomas Anderson, is I always enjoy him more. Josh, I'm very much in the same camp as you. Of course, we appreciate the craft that goes into his films. The performances that he's one of the best directors out there in terms of getting great performances from his cast. But I appreciate him more. I enjoy him more when I feel like he has embraced a narrative, when he's embraced a real story, as opposed to just embracing a character. And my examples of good narratives are Boogie Nights and Licorice Pizza versus characters like The Phantom Thread and The Master. Again, great films, but I didn't enjoy
Don't you
watching
shame
them.
the House of Woodcock on this podcast.
I didn't enjoy watching them the way I did Boogie Nights or Licorice Pizza, and this may be, I don't know, it's side by side with Boogie Nights. One battle after another might be his best narrative, his best story, and I adored every second I was in this film. Look, it feels like it's ripped from our reality, and I'm sure there are going to be some folks who will be angry at the immigration themes that are in this, the notions of a police state that doesn't care about due process or laws. I mean, but
What
I don't
science fiction is this?
I was describing certain like non-spoilery, stuff about in this movie to my girlfriend today, and she was like, wait, how long ago did he write this? And I was like, he's been working on this for like 10 years.
20 years.
And
20.
And it's obviously there, we can talk about like where all the various different literary and film influences on this movie, but like it is kind of incredible in a scary way, but in a way that I think is also very cathartic on screen, or was cathartic to me, and certainly cathartic to the people that were sitting around me.
Right.
About how just surreal it is, all the stuff in this movie, and how much it matches up to like, well, I saw that on the news like last week, and I agree with you, Jason, of like, I think that is frustrating and kind of annoying to some people, but I think the rebuttal I would give to that, if there's anyone apprehensive, is like, this is, I think, it's less a movie that is PTA standing on a soapbox and giving you like a lecture about like what he thinks about the time, and more of, in a weird way, I think this is his most personal movie in a really interesting way, and is really a personal movie about him reckoning with, being scared of this current moment, and filling out this wonderful ensemble of characters who are all trying to tackle this political moment in various different ways, and are sort of caught up in the anxiety of it and the sort of like what comes next.
The thing I was going to say is they started shooting this, and the script is done before they start shooting it. Paul Thomas Anderson's not going to start shooting until he has his script. They start shooting this in January of 2024. Donald Trump hadn't even won the Republican nomination yet. The notion of crackdowns on immigrants, closing our borders, and
military people entering like cities, and all that stuff.
These just weren't things that were a huge part of the public consciousness. So, again, I get that the movie coming out right now, people are going to go, he's commenting on these things. I don't think that's the case. I actually think this film is more about family, community, trusting the people you love, more than it is about immigration and all that other kind of stuff. And what's more,
agree.
I think that the title of the film is very telling. This movie's called One Battle After Another. There's no end to the fight. Yeah. The battles just keep on coming. So maybe fighting isn't the answer. Maybe stop and take a moment to love and appreciate the people around you instead of constantly fighting. I think that is more the message of the film than some political hit piece about Trumpism and the military and the police and immigration.
I would agree. I mean, it's a father-daughter story at the end of the story. It's, it is a story about an ex-revolutionary played by Leonardo DiCaprio who, like, brings all of his other revolutionaries sort of out of the shadows and is like, I need you to help me protect my daughter. And it becomes about a man who is scared for his family's future and his family's safety in an unstable world. And that's something I think anyone can relate to. And the what I just found so moving about this movie is kind of like how it leads to this place of just sort of like, as you said, Jason, even if you can't change the world, you can, make the world a better place for the people you love and the people around you.
Yeah, granted, that being said, like, along with Jason, the One Battle After Another clearly ties into the inspiration for the film, which is Thomas Pynchon's Vineland, which was, a satire of Reagan-era America and how baby boomers kind of evolve into the leaders that we're battling now in one battle after another. And the fact that, again, very loosely based on the book. Like, he keeps a couple of character attributes, a couple of set pieces, but that's about it. It's mostly primarily a PTA story. But the fact that he can take something that was vital in the late 80s, early 90s, and transport it to something that is still just as relevant in 2025. Again, like Jason says, speaks to the title. But I think that the battles in the title can, yes, they're absolutely political, but they're also, family as well, like you were saying. The dynamic, the chemistry between Leonardo DiCaprio and Chase Infinity, I can't believe this is her first movie. Like,
It's incredible.
So good.
Before this, I think her most high profile role was she was in the Presumed Innocent reboot on Apple TV with Jake Gyllenhaal. But I think this is her most like high profile role. And they have so much in common. Like the way that DiCaprio, blew onto the scene with This Boy's Life and Gilbert Grape. She's doing the same thing here. Like, we're going to be talking about this actress for decades to come. She's phenomenal. And the family dynamic that is at the heart of this movie, whether it's, actual biological family or adopted family or chosen family, I think that takes precedence over the seemingly stereotypical historical battles that we think the title is referring to.
All right, guys. So I want to get it. Josh, you kind of brought up the relationship between the two of them, and I want we're going to start jousting, I think, here a little bit. I want to talk about Leonardo DiCaprio. You ready for my hot take?
Let's do it.
Uh-oh.
Leo is not the lead in this movie.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Sure, he's in it the most, barely. But the first third of the film revolves around Tiana Taylor's Perfidia Beverly Hills character, who's like this whirlwind who just takes over the first third.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Just absolutely dominates the first third of the movie. The final 2/3 of the movie are both Sean Penn's Colonel Lockjaw and Chase Infinity's Willa. And Leo, he's, the connective tissue between all this stuff. But he's largely driven by the action of others rather than by himself. I mean,
yeah,
he just runs around.
I'm going to maybe push against this a little bit of just sort of. Yeah, go ahead.
He runs around haplessly in a dazed stupor for the most part. He accomplishes next to nothing throughout the whole movie. I don't want to give away what happens at the end, but at the end, I thought he was going to do something, and instead, it's Willa who does sort of the final thing at the end there. And again, no spoilers on that. To me, he was the least interesting character in the film. Benicio del Toro's sensei is a far more compelling character. And considering Paul Thomas Anderson usually writes amazing lead characters, I mean, we can go through the just unbelievable lead characters. I think this one's kind of a dud. Now, it's okay because the rest of the cast is amazing and the rest of the story is amazing. And you need Leo as your connective tissue, but he's kind of comic relief and little more than that. Fight with me, buddy.
No, I don't have anything to fight about. I think other than the fact that when it comes to Paul Thomas Anderson, he's very intentional with his choices. I don't think the fact that Leo is our bumbling protagonist is an accident. I think that he is meant to be our audience surrogate. He's the guy who brings us into this world while what much more capable people are accomplishing the heroic tasks. Without getting into spoilers, this is one of the best performances of Benicio del Toro's career. He's not in the movie a ton, but the driving, like the propulsive force of the film is him. Regina Hall, phenomenal. Like these two characters,
but yes, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though they don't get the screen time that DiCaprio does, I think that's intentional. I think that he's making a comment on like performative revolution or performative activism versus the people who are doing the hard job and making the hard choices.
If I just want to be clear for our listeners, I was gasping out of love for Regina Hall, not disgust. I don't want anyone coming out. I've been over here like praying and jumping up and down like as soon as he's been talking about wanting to work with her forever, and it's been like, please, please let this happen. They're so perfect for each other. But no, I think the key to the Leo character is, I'm gonna sort of like half agree with you. I think it's like really notable that the strongest, most capable people in this movie are all black women. And I think,
In a big way. Big way.
yeah, and like Chase Infinity is incredible. Tiana Taylor is like, oh my god, just like a firecracker in that first third of the movie. But I think the key to the Leo character is, it's two things. It's number one, this kind of interesting idea of like what happens when you're younger and you're, much more maybe politically active, or much more willing to be a little bit sort of like reckless in how you obtain the kind of political results you want. Whereas then you get older and I'm sure you guys can attest to this, you start having kids and you have other responsibilities, and then that becomes more of your kind of focus, and you kind of
Jesse, we refer to this as life happens.
yeah. I mean, that's something with the DiCaprio character, and I think he's feeling this sort of sense of failure because of that. But there is something, I think, endearing and sweet about how his priorities have sort of changed to just being about his daughter. And honestly, I think the biggest key to the thing is like, DiCaprio's playing PTA. Like, I think it's worth bringing up to people. Like, Paul Thomas Anderson is, I say this as a schlubby white boy. Paul Thomas Anderson is a schlubby white boy whose partner is Black Queen Maya Rudolph, and they have multiple children together. So there is an aspect of watching this movie that is kind of like, for me as someone who's grown up with like, he's the guy, or at least, for those of us who, pray at the church of Paul Thomas Anderson, or like, like he is like the great American filmmaker of his generation. And this feels like a very nakedly confessional movie, not just in the political stuff, but there's like I kind of couldn't help but smile at being like, Paul really loves the sisters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, there's
absolutely
something to be said about him being like, I feel worried about this moment, but I'm not the person who has the most at stake, and making the sort of surrogate character for him in this story kind of, Jeffrey Lebowski basically, and the most like capable, smart, intelligent, fierce people in the movie are all Latino or they're black. And, I'm sure we'll get into the Sean Penn thing, which is its whole other like fascinating thing to unpack.
Oh my God.
But I'm also just a sucker for like Leo, the zone of that Leo is in, where he's just playing like middle-aged losers. It's chef kiss. It's so good.
Yeah.
But he's playing Paul Thomas Anderson in the movie, in my opinion, and I think that helps make that performance is also riding such a like thin line of needing to be like emotionally invested in the stakes of the story, which are really high, but also it has to be this very broad comedic performance. I sort of, the more that time goes on, I'm like, I think we're maybe kind of underrating how good Leo is in the movie, but
that's fair.
All right. So when I was driving home from watching the film, I called my son who lives out in Hollywood. He always wants to hear about the great movies. And we were discussing this film, and he goes, Dad, I got a question. Why doesn't Leonardo DiCaprio want to look like a movie star? Why doesn't he want to be a movie star anymore? My son said, he looks awful in all of his movies lately. He looks like a bum. And my son then said, I hate it when stars feel like they have to run away from their charm and charisma to prove they're great actors. And after that, we talked a little bit about Brad Pitt and how great Brad Pitt looks in Formula One.
Yeah, super ugly in F1, just such a gross guy.
But Brad Pitt as the opposite, as opposed to Leonardo DiCaprio. Because think about Leo. Since The Great Gatsby and Wolf of Wall Street in 2013, where he looks fabulous. All the charm is on screen, just dripping off the screen. He's made The Revenant, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's playing a movie star. It's fine.
Woo!
Don't Look Up, where he plays a nerdy scientist. Killers of the Flower Moon, where he is far from charming and he's a little bit of an idiot who's being manipulated by Robert De Niro. And now a drug-addled, paranoid loser, to be honest, in One Battle After Another. Am I wrong? Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't want to look charming on film anymore.
Yeah,
No,
I think that he's like, I'll maybe say this because Leo is also, this is really like, I've warned you guys that this is unhinged, Jesse, because this really is just sort of like not just like because of how much Paul Thomas Anderson means to me, but Leo, I think, is kind of like this isn't like, he's not the greatest actor, but he is like the central movie star of, I feel like, my age group of like late stage millennials. And I think now we're getting to the zone where like, I kind of like that Leo's just becoming Jack Nicholson. You know what I mean? Where like he's kind of over the top and he's kind of manic and he's got this like pudgy little belly now. And I don't know, I like the fact he's leaning into his age and sort of playing a bit more kind of like scuzzy losers. And I'm really enjoying him just in that mode and think it has unlocked like a whole other, array of nuances. And it's just brought out a whole other side of him that like when we were watching like Titanic or The Departed growing up, like something I would have never thought he would like be capable of doing like stuff this silly, or even being an actor like Nicholson who can kind of so easily like bounce between comedy and drama, and it's all just kind of like rolled into one thing, if that makes sense.
So yeah,
you're giving me a side eye there.
No, I was gonna kind of touch on what you said about Titanic. I think it's been almost 30 years. Titanic was 97, but I think 97 freaked Leo out
too. I'm still waiting for that.
So yeah, I think Titanic freaked DiCaprio out. I think that he saw a future where he was essentially, Matthew McConaughey or something, where he was just like the romantic lead in a lot of movies. And I don't think that's who he is at his, Brando heart. And so I think he made an intentional choice over the last 3 decades to take roles that don't fit, matinee idol looks, or when he took roles like Gatsby or Wolf of Wall Street, like you were talking about, Jason, he took roles that intentionally played on those stereotypes or tropes. I think he wants to go against his cliche good looks. Like one of, Amy Nicholson, who's a film critic at a podcast that I also listen to, she talked about how it feels like he decided to look like a frog on purpose. That, it's like that, like, oh, if people think I'm hot, they won't take me seriously. So I have to develop into this sort of like character actor body. I'm not sure if I agree with that or not, but he's definitely gone against type in pretty much everything he's done since the films Jason talked about. But I think that his work here is like, I think it highlights his hidden talent, which is he's an incredible comedic actor in a world that doesn't appreciate comedy anymore.
I think he's a better comedic actor than he is a dramatic actor, personally.
Yeah, he's so funny in this movie.
He's really, really funny.
The phone call scenes in this movie
are
like easily top 5 funniest stuff I've watched in the past 5 years. It is.
And yet, as you're watching it, you believe it's that like weird line, right? Of like, you're laughing, but you're also like, oh my God, just tell him where his daughter is. This man is like about to have a panic attack. He's crying.
What's up, homie? It's me again, Bob Ferguson. I don't know if you remember, but we spoke earlier on the phone. I think we had a little misunderstanding. I think we got off on the wrong foot. I was trying to get the rendezvous point for my daughter, Willa.
If you can't answer what time is it, I cannot give you the rendezvous point. This is a key tenet of the rebellion act. I'm surprised you can't name it. I don't know if you are who you say you are.
Okay.
Right. So we've gone this long and we haven't really talked about what I think may be the best performance in the movie, or at least one of the most performance in the movie,
Yeah,
which
most.
is Sean Penn. Sean Penn playing Colonel Lockjaw, a paramilitary white supremacist insane person who quite literally has a 2x4 shoved up his ass at all times.
Yeah, the bizarre walk. I was even telling my girlfriend today, like, I don't know if it's just like I don't think this is intentional, but it's, talk about things that are meeting up with the moment. Like Sean Penn and RFK are kind of becoming the same person in a weird way that I couldn't.
Yeah,
help but
without
think
getting into
about.
spoilers, there's a scene, like his final scene in the movie. He's a dead ringer for RFK.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's I couldn't help but think the entire time. I was just like, oh my god, just like he looks and sounds just like, or maybe that's a compliment to RFK. I don't, however you want to take that. They are appearing like the identical human beings, especially in this movie.
All right, Jesse, was it a good performance or a most performance?
It's genuinely great, and I think for a similar reason as the Leo performance, which again is different than kind of the other more like heroic, capable characters, but it's a very cartoonish character in a way that is very Paul Thomas Anderson, in that this is a sexually frustrated man baby essentially, who is Sean Penn has to navigate both this character being ridiculous and funny, but also very scary and intimidating. And you have to believe
Right, he's funny, but not cartoonish. Not at all. Yeah.
No, and it's so easily could turn into cartoonish, but I think kind of the brilliant piece of, I think, like a lot of the characters in PTA's movies is like there's an empathy and an earnestness for all the characters, and like you buy that Sean Penn character Lockjaw as a three-dimensional person of like, even though he is evil, you understand like his psychology and viewpoint of the world, which I also thought was such a smart, nuanced satire on this current moment, because I don't think it's divisive to say that people who are attracted to, his character in the movie is out for Chase Infinity in order to, I won't spoil what the reason is, but he's wanting to be initiated into this like Illuminati like organization called the Christmas Explorers Club, who are basically just like, it's basically just like four white supremacist dudes who just look like bankers who are just like hanging out in a bunker together. And there's something I think so brilliant about the Sean Penn character, who we would think of as this cartoonishly racist person, and yet his psychology is he's a sexually frustrated, insecure, like inept person who has, who hates himself, is probably homophobic, definitely like, loves the sisters as well, but like hates himself for it. And there's this like weird, like charged romance between him and Tiana Taylor in the beginning of the movie. And the idea that just like, that's what draws these like losers to like joining like white supremacist groups, is it's like they want to feel like more, they hate themselves and they want to feel like they are somehow better than at least some other class of people. And I just thought that was such a stroke of genius to have like that be the psychology of the character, and never get a moment where you're like getting a big speech explaining it like I am, but
Right.
you
No.
totally understand that character, his motivations, why he's doing the things he's doing. And it's funny. Everything Sean Penn does in this movie is so funny, and is like, again, it's it's similar to like this joke South Park's been doing of just be like, just call all these people basically like sexually frustrated weirdos, and like somehow that's like the funniest thing you could do, is just be like, they just need a nut. They just need to nut, but like they hate themselves because they have to. You know what I mean?
Well, first of all, why is your shirt so tight, Jesse? But yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think Paul Thomas Anderson understands the Sean Penn persona of the last couple of decades.
Yeah.
Because like, this is the funniest he's been since Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
A
He's
man who is
pure
very
comedy here.
rarely has a smile on his face.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Like he is known for being the cliched, stereotypical Hollywood liberal who takes everything seriously. He's the guy who explained a joke to Chris Rock at the Oscars, you know. And so to have that super self-serious guy be like, this is where we may joust a little bit, Jason. I think he's absolutely a cartoon character, but that's fitting for our current era. Like what I hear from a lot of people, here we go. We're going to lose some subscribers, I guess. But like,
Bye, 4 people.
yeah, exactly. What I keep hearing is, I never thought the apocalypse would be so dumb. Like, everybody who's in charge are just cartoonish idiots that if they were your boss at your job, you would say, I don't want to work here anymore. I quit. But they're the ones making the rules. And I think Sean Penn's character, which, like, even his character's name, which is Lockjaw, it's clearly an homage to Stanley Kubrick and Doctor Strangelove, right?
Yeah.
But
They both are obsessed with what do they call it in Doctor Strangelove? His essence.
yeah, it's a guy who's the self-seriousness is the joke. Like he thinks he's this super important guy just because he's wearing a uniform and he's good with a gun, but he's an idiot. And I think like
Wait,
part
you're
of me
making it sound.
is still not sure whether Sean Penn is in on the joke or not.
I
That
think he's
might
in
be
on
my
the joke.
joust-worthy performance or my joust-worthy take.
So, first of all, he's not inept. The reason I say he's not cartoonish is that he isn't like Leo to me is played as inept in this film. Colonel Lockjaw is not inept. He is a formidable adversary. He has resources and knows what to do with them for the most part. And I mean, yeah, it is a very, very funny performance. There's almost no stretch of the film that he's in where you aren't laughing at him, from his walk to the look on his face, everything about him. But again, I say he's not cartoonish because we never, like, the characters on screen don't find him funny, and he is reasonably successful at what he's trying to accomplish, which is not, there's no buffoonery there. So that's why I say it's not played cartoonish.
He's definitely menacing. Like you're worried at one point of like he's going to shoot
Willa. When he's interrogating and testing, we won't get into it. When he's interrogating Willa, there's a menace in that scene.
Right, you're like, this woman might get shot in the face. Like, please do not let this happen. But like, you're worried that is a possibility.
Is this where we get into spoilers a little bit?
Not quite. Give me one more minute. Let's do one more thing, and then we'll get into spoilers. I'll put on my spoiler hat.
Jason wants to talk about Hills.
You have read my mind.
Yeah.
Huge shout out, a guy named Michael Bowman. I'm not sure. I think it's Bauman. He has been the lighting director. He's been the lighting director on a bunch of films for PTA. He was kind of the co-cinematographer on Licorice Pizza. Like, he and PTA shot it together. This is his first major film where he gets a full cinematographer credit. He fucking crushes it. This film is so gorgeous.
100%.
And Jesse was saying The Hills. There's a car chase scene at the end of this movie that is just, it's cars going over hills, and you can't see over the crest of the next hill. You can't see over the crest of the next hill, and you're constantly catching a glimpse of the car in front of you. And my instinct might be, in a movie that is 2 hours and 50 minutes long, to say, oh, it goes on for too long. No. How dare you? It does not go on it goes on for a long time. But it goes on for a long time because this is how you build tension through the camera. This is how you make the audience feel like they are there. Car chases don't end instantly. They take a while sometimes. And we as an audience are put in those, on the fucking front bumper of those cars. It is so well done. It might be the best car chase I've seen in years.
I would agree.
Great job.
Yeah, and if you have any doubts, like, they've already shown you a, like, quote, more conventional but still like kick-ass car chase in the first like third of this movie. So it's almost just sort of being like, just in case you got a little bit of an extra eyebrow, we're gonna first show you that we can do like the conventional version of this better than anyone, and then like we'll do the like idiosyncratic Paul Thomas Anderson version of a car chase in the like it was funny
It's
after
got a
our
little Coen Brothers to it. It's got a little Coen Brothers to
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was so funny seeing like so many comments, when I was like reading reviews and reactions to this on Letterboxd last night of like how many people were like, it's so unfair and we need to investigate. How was this guy like started making movies when he was in his mid-20s and like he never misses and he's like a great action filmmaker
Yeah.
it just that's just why he's my favorite filmmaker. Is every new movie I'm like, I didn't know you were capable of this. Like he's
Yeah,
always changing it up.
I saw an interview a couple of weeks ago where he was like, "Yeah, the car chases and the crashes are the most boring part from a director standpoint." I'm like, "Shut up!" Like, what are you talking about? Like the cliche that I was talking about earlier, being on the edge of my seat. This is what I was referring to. Like that car chase at the end of the film is one of the most suspenseful things I've seen in years, and it's not even in a traditional thriller or horror movie. It's in an action comedy, and the fact that you're genuinely unsure of how it's going to end, like you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen, but you're not sure about the edges of how it's going to play out. That's what we live for. Like we see so many movies where you're waiting for A, B, C, D, and E to happen all the way to Z, that when people take chances and do something different between like X and Y, like we're like, oh, okay, this is something new and creative and fresh. Like I'm paying attention, and it's. I know it's like a huge, super hot take to say that like Paul Thomas Anderson knows what he's doing with a camera, but like
He's
the
just in.
fact, yeah, but the fact that he can take you in a movie that's already been that it's already 2 hours and 15 minutes in, and he's making it feel like you're 45 minutes into the movie, is just insane.
All right, guys. So, folks, if you've been listening till now and you have not seen the film, go see it. Turn us off right now. I'm telling you, stop
Must
listening.
If you have to see one movie this year, see this movie.
There you
don't
go.
give a lot of I don't give a lot of A pluses. This is an A plus film.
Okay. Now let's get into spoilers. I'm putting on my spoiler hat.
Oh, I left my beanie in the car.
He
Damn.
came with props.
I am all ready. I've got my spoiler hat on. I'm ready for spoilers. So I'll give you my first spoiler, which is something I really didn't like in the film. I hated the letter at the very end that Perfidia Beverly Hills writes to her daughter. It's some kind of last-minute redemption for her character after she did basically everything wrong throughout the entire movie. We have left her after the first 45 minutes or so of the film. She never comes back. And then they give her this letter, and we're supposed to be like, oh, she does love her daughter and her husband. No. She's no better than Colonel Lockjaw. They are both characters, and our good friend Matt Goldberg, a brilliant film critic and writer, pointed this out. They are both characters who embrace violence and destruction, and they don't care who they destroy to get their power, even their families. Mm-hmm. How are you giving Perfidia Beverly Hills a redemption, Paul Thomas Anderson, at the end of the movie? How dare you? It's not right with her character.
I don't know.
I will agree that I think that she and Sean Penn's character have the same lust for power. I think what the letter does is show that some people can come back from the brink. Sean Penn's character doesn't, and so we're in spoilers, kind of hinting at what I talked about before, the way that he's cartoonish. He's menacing for 2/3 of the movie, and then in that last third, he goes out like a complete buffoon, which makes you realize he never had any power whatsoever. He only had power because people allowed him to have power. And I think the letter at the end allows Perfidia a redemption that Sean Penn's character didn't have. So I'll agree with you that for the first 2/3, they have the same struggles. I think she gets the redemption where Penn's character doesn't.
Yeah, I think so much of the movie is also about, reckoning with the actions that the characters have in the first third of the movie. And, I the Perfidia character, I think I sort of like half agree, but like I love the letter. Like it's such a beautiful touch at the end of the movie, and I don't feel like it redeems like her actions and the violent things that she does at the first part of the movie. But I think it allows this kind of passing of the torch between this mother and this daughter of, I almost feel like it would be more ridiculous if like Perfidia just shows up at the door, because it's basically like she has had to leave her family, like she can't come back, and she has destroyed
she
the relationship.
voluntarily left her family.
Yes, like she can't come back. It doesn't matter if she is like, come around to it or whatnot. Like she can't go anywhere near these people again, and these people all have been hurt by it. There's like that scene with the nuns where they were like, we keep having the Perfidia problem, which also I think speaks to that character's sort of more militant attitudes towards political activism. But to me, the letter is this like beautiful mother-daughter baton toss of kind of like, we couldn't make this world a better place for you, and maybe you can do it better than we can. And so much of this movie being about like, getting back to the title, this kind of like violent, this is all just stuff that is like so on the topic of minds and Americans. It's like violence, just creating more violence, and like whether, and just the endless cycle of that. And that just sort of being this mother saying like this letter of regret of like, I screwed up my entire life, and I screwed up the lives and hurt a lot of people around me. And maybe the best we can hope for is just the next generation is just like 10% better. You know what I mean?
Maybe they'll finally get it right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that just sort of left me in the high of the movie, and that Tom Petty song kicks in of just sort this being like the world is like a horrible, scary place, but like we got to live to fight another day, and like that has to be a baton that like the next generation just hopefully like does it a little bit better than we can. I found the letter so like moving and beautiful, and like a kind of nuanced note that I was not expecting this movie to end on.
And I will say that, this may be recency bias talking. Let's revisit this in a couple of years. That Tom Petty needle drop at the end is one of the greatest moments in film history.
It's beautiful. I mean, the man knows how to do a needle drop.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I don't know what more I can do here. I have thrown out numerous hot takes. Leo's not the lead, and he's not a charming actor anymore. I hated the essentially functionally the ending moments of the movie, and you guys are agreeing with everything I say. What do I do?
We jousted with you. I said the letter was good.
The letter's great. The letter is great. The ending wouldn't be as moving. I think it is the context of the letter is the important bit.
What I will say is that, I don't even know if this is a hot take as much as it's just the plot. But, Leo is our representation of the bumbling but well-meaning white guy who gets to stumble into his happy ending while the Latino guys and the black women do all the hard work and reap the just desserts for that. Like Benicio del Toro, I would argue, I guess this counts as a hot take. He and Regina Hall are the heroes of the film.
Oh yeah.
I don't disagree at all.
They are so calm and clear-headed.
And Chase Infinity,
yeah. All characters who are clear-headed, calm, and are able to do the good work, you know what I mean? And they don't go to the extremes of the Perfidia character.
Not only the hard work that they have to do against the antagonists, but also having to clean up after our protagonist. Yeah. Like our quote unquote hero is making things worse. So not only do they have to fight the bad guys, they also have to protect the good guy from his own choices.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Benicio del Toro's character, the entire network of things that he has going on,
So great.
is
Guys,
so
is he
fabulous.
underrated at this point? This is something I've been thinking
Maybe.
about. Like,
I
I
would
know
think
the
so.
man has an Oscar, but like, I feel like he's in so much and he's so consistently good in everything. And like,
This is his second great performance of the year.
I would agree. Like, I thought he was so good in the Wes Anderson movie.
So, guys, I got a question for you then.
Uh-huh.
If you could pick one person from this movie to promote for Best Supporting Actor, is it Sean Penn or is it Benicio?
I would say Del Toro.
I would
Like-
go Del Toro too. I think it'll
Yeah.
more than like Penn is the showier performance, but
The
Penn's the bigger-
Oscars
it's a bigger
best
role.
equals most.
It's
Yeah,
a bigger
the-
role for Sean Penn, for sure.
yeah, definitely.
But I would say Del Toro has the trickier role because he has to maintain a tone that Sean Penn doesn't have to worry about.
Yeah. And he only gets, the middle third of the movie really to be on
Right.
screen. And, as we said, he gets to sort of him and the Regina Hall character, get to represent a more positive image of activism and what activism can look like in the world. And I just to talk about things that just I love
And this
the
this
scene
might
of
get
him
into
walking around in the apartment and all the little people that live there, and they
Yeah.
go into another room and there's like, his niece is like sitting on the couch
People
and
in
he's like,
every
get
single
out of here.
room.
You gotta
Right.
like help these people get out of here.
and this may get into the category fraud conversation that we're never going to solve, but like I'll have to see it again. Obviously, this is not going to be the only time I'll watch this film. I would argue DiCaprio and Penn might have close to the same amount of screen time.
Probably.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so I would argue this is not I would argue Penn's not a supporting role. I would say that DiCaprio and Penn are co-leads.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I also
I
think
mean,
like one thing I wanted to bring up that I thought was also interesting with the Penn character and the Perfidia character, like this is something that like Josh, it sounds like you've read Vineland. Jason, have you read Vineland?
I've
Have
read
not-
about a third of Vineland,
Yeah,
and then I'd bowed
this
out.
is something that's definitely like an aspect of that book that it doesn't quite play out like totally the same way, but it's like the general like character concept of it, of like the weird power dynamic, like psychosexual relationship that Lockjaw and Perfidia have is, it's this very funny penchant idea of like how the parasitic relationship like the extreme right has with the extreme left. You know what I mean? Of like
Yeah.
these two
It's the horseshoe effect.
right, they're attracted to each other and there's almost this like they need the other person in the world because like they it's the dumb like you real white boy quote coming out here. It's the like Batman needs the Joker and the Joker needs Batman sort of thing. Like
Well, I would say that this weirdly for such a blatantly political film, I would say this is probably one of Anderson's most audience-friendly, accessible films. I would
Yeah.
put this up there
Yeah.
with Boogie
Yeah.
Nights or Licorice Pizza as
That's what I said at
as-
the start. Yeah.
yeah.
100%.
this is not just for film nerds. This is for people that just like I said, like going to the movie and gobbling popcorn. This is not The Master. This is not, Inherent Vice.
We will have no master slander. We will have
I
no
wasn't
slander
slandering.
on
I'm
the
just saying,
cause.
I'm just saying you wouldn't go home for Thanksgiving and be like, let's throw on The Master.
No, The Master is definitely a movie like weirdo PTA nerds like me, think is funny and strange. I think you bringing up how audience friendly this is, it made me think of I wanted to, if I can, list off the 5 movies of Paul Thomas Anderson did some Q&A with TCM, and he listed 5 companion movies that I had seen 4 of them before, and then I watched the one that I hadn't seen before this morning. And I think now, having seen all of them, they're all such great picks at giving people an idea of what to expect of this movie, both stylistically and thematically. They are
Go for it.
Yeah. So obviously they're the Searchers, the like I mean, what is there left to say about the Searchers? Like the incredible John Ford, John Wayne movie with John Wayne as, you know, an ex-Confederate, a very complicated character who is like traversing the American West to try and rescue his niece. You know, the last third of this movie is all set in the desert and is shot in VistaVision, which is how the Searchers was shot. And so there's a lot of, you know, visual similarities in terms of the look of the movie, as well as it's about, you know, a man searching for his, you know, a younger female family member. Yeah. Then there's the Battle of the Algiers, which is directly called out in the movie. Leo watching that on TV and is like a very, very intense, like, almost how did they make this and no one died? Like, that's how crazy it is. Like, French movie about like Algerian rebels fighting against like French colonialists. And this movie shares a lot of the kind of like urban guerrilla warfare stuff. I even like, side note to that, you guys have watched Andor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I basically texted a friend of mine today and I was like, one battle after another is PTA's Andor, and he was like, holy shit. And then you have Running on Empty, which is the one I hadn't seen before, is a Sidney Lumet movie that is about two fictional characters who are members of the like Weather Underground movement in the late 60s.
I don't think they are in the movie, but they are based on
okay.
Right.
Yeah. Very, very similar to, you know, like another like left-wing activist group
And
that like
also
results to violence.
Also featuring River Phoenix, who was probably
Yeah.
Leo before Leo. Like if River Phoenix didn't
100%.
yeah, if River Phoenix didn't end up the way
Overdose.
River Phoenix ended up, he's Leo.
Yeah, and you know, this movie shares a lot of thematic similarities to being about like former revolutionary parents who now have to go into hiding and how that lifestyle affects their children and prevents them from living a normal life. Then you have Midnight Run, which, you know, is just like one of the all-time great like action comedies.
Action comedy masterpiece.
And is like I think a very good comparison to what sort of the tone of this movie is, of like it gets a little bit more serious than that movie, but that kind of mix of like actual danger and stakes with, you know, odd character dynamics. And then the last movie was The French Connection, which, you know, there's the car
chases.
Once you know that, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, like he's doing the playbook of like, I'm going to just strap this camera onto the front of a car and, you know, hopefully not as dangerous as William Friedkin did it back in the 70s. But, you know, like they're like zigging and zagging through traffic. And, you know, as we said, the scene with the hills, like that the camera is literally like going like up and down, like with the horizon of the hills and that visual language.
The whole theater we were all moving in rhythm with the.
We're all like
you
leaning up
you
and
can
moving
see everyone
our heads.
Yeah, just like popping up and down in their seat.
Well, and as much as everything you said is accurate, like there's so many references to those films, throwaway references to other films. I want to make sure that we don't forget about Tony Goldwyn in this conversation, who is, you know, part of the, we're in spoilers now, the Christmas Adventurers Club. Yeah, like the fact that he leans into the persona he's had from Scandal, from being the scuzzbag and Ghost, to be sort of the representation of the mediocre white man who's running everything, but also the grossest character in the whole film. Like, it takes a lot to maintain that tone and do it in a way that doesn't immediately take you out of the film. He's really good in this.
And I love how they're not the choice of like the Christmas Adventurers Club. Like they're not as ridiculous as the name is, but like they're not like, none of the actors are playing it like cartoonishly evil, and none of their dialogue is like
totally straight.
There's more cartoonishly people in Adam McKay's Vice, you know what I mean? Of like,
Don't Look Up, another DiCaprio movie.
You know, I love that it's just sort of like, yeah, this is like our club in quotation marks, and of like, we're a Christmas club, and I don't know if you guys have ever had the experience of like you're maybe hanging out with like a friend of your partner's. I want to be clear, this is not representing a friend
Totally
of my
hypothetical.
partner, not representing a real person related to a real person I'm dating right now. But like you're ever like hanging out with someone and there's one person in the group that's like it's like someone's husband or boyfriend. It's usually like someone's boyfriend. And it becomes like, all right, guys, like you go hang out with the guys over there. And you guys are like, you know, you're chatting about like football or movies or stuff. And then like this guy who has just sort of seemed like a normal like button up guy the whole night, you know, just sort of casually says like, you know who sucks, black people or something like that. And everyone else in the room is like, dude, where the F did that come from? Like that's the whole vibe of like the Christmas Adventures Club, which I thought was so tonally brilliant because that is exactly like how these people like interact in real life.
And it's also like Santa Claus is barely a code for Jesus. I'm gonna lose the other two subscribers. Like this, like Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is a member of this kind of club.
Yeah.
Like he has talked about it in interviews. He's not even trying to hide it. So like you know, we talk about how like that aspect is like cartoonishly over the top. No, that's just life now.
Yeah. And just the casual way they're like, well, I mean, we're doing a little background check. We saw that you had an interracial relationship once. You know, it's probably nothing, but you know, we got to do our due diligence.
But just in case, you should probably shoot him in the face with a shotgun.
And all the conversation about like, you know, we're all like the true Americans, right? Like we're older, more
the pure,
pure version of America, which you know it's disgusting that those people are out in the world. But I love that whole group is cartoonish, but like none of the people are playing it cartoonishly, which somehow makes it funnier.
Oh yeah, it's like they're in a documentary, which like makes it, yeah, like you said, even funnier that they're playing it so straight.
Okay, guys. So really quick before we go, Josh and I have both seen a movie. We're gonna do like 3 minutes, just super fast.
Yeah, you can spoil this movie to me. I'm never seeing this.
It's worth mentioning. This is a film called Eleanor the Great.
As he wears his one battle after another.
Yeah, right. Let me take off my spoiler hat. This is a film called Eleanor the Great. It's about a elderly woman, 94-year-old woman, who has who moves from her sort of assisted living home. Her long time best friend dies. She feels lonely, and so she moves out of her assisted living home, and she moves into Manhattan to live with her daughter. And her daughter's got a busy life going on as well. Her grandson is busy with his life. She becomes a little bit lonely, and she ends up through a couple sort of strange ways of befriending like a college student who wants to do a news article about Eleanor because she believes that Eleanor is a Holocaust survivor with an incredible Holocaust survivor story. And it turns out, spoilers, I mean, it's actually not spoilers, it's part of the setup of the film.
It's in the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, that the Holocaust story that Eleanor tells that attracts people to her is actually her best friend's story. It's not her story. In fact, she's not even Jewish. She converted in the 1950s.
She's from Iowa.
Yeah. And Eleanor, the main character, is played by the great, brilliant, amazing June Squibb. Look, I know this film isn't going to get enough attention. I know it's not going to get enough publicity. Frankly, I think June Squibb should be in some kind of Best Actress conversation. She is so great in this film. She's the reason to see this movie. And she's in her 90s and she's still acting and kicking ass on screen. Her character is enjoyable, relatable. I think every single one of us, when they get to their 90s, we want to be her, minus the lying.
I would argue Rita Zohar, who plays the deceased friend. You know, if we're pushing June Squibb for Best Actress, we should push her for Best Supporting because she is the heart of the film. Like, it's her story. And I think that's where me and Jason differ a little bit, is that I feel like the conceit that June Squibb's character is taking it upon herself to tell her friend's story because she's the last living person who can convey this really powerful story. The movie doesn't change if she says in that initial meeting, "Oh, I'm here by accident, but I want to tell you about my best friend who just passed away and listen to her incredible story. Nothing changes. And so it feels like a
Wait,
trumped
hold
up
on.
conceit.
Nothing changes except the tension in the story and the driving force that keeps us paying attention.
Josh,
Like,
are
you've
you
just
asking
taken the-
for a movie that's not a movie?
Josh,
No, I'm not at
taking
all.
the
I'm saying
conflict-
that
you're taking the conflict out of the film. There's no film if that's
You're
if that's
sounding
what
like my
happens.
Aunt
No,
Kay.
but I'm
You want a
saying
movie
that-
with no conflict?
no, I'm saying that the central conflict gets deflated in about 30 seconds towards the end of the film. So if you can get rid of it that fast, you can still have a character-based story with an older lady bonding with a young girl who lost her mom and her dad is absent in his grief. I think you can still have that movie without the arguably really offensive, like, stolen valor portion of the story.
I mean, I disagree because I think that this is the thing that drives us as an audience. Keeps us. I mean, edge of your seat is a little strong. It's not an edge of your seat kind of movie.
No.
But it keeps us engaged, and I'm watching for the train wreck that's going to come. I know the train wreck is coming, and I'm watching now because I want to see what happens when the train wreck happens. And that's the whole reason there is a movie.
And spoiler alert, when the train wreck happens, they fix it in about 90 seconds.
Okay, fine. I mean,
As opposed to this, in the real world, this woman is institutionalized, but like, it's not that kind of movie. I get it.
Josh's problem is there's too much Holocaust in the Holocaust movie.
That's what it is. Yeah, that's totally what it is. I was like, the non-Jewish guy has a problem with the extremely Jewish movie. That's not going to look bad at all.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, I think it's do you agree it was an enjoyable film?
Yeah, I'm glad I watched it. The performances are fantastic. As far as like,
is this the movie Scarlett Johansson directed?
It is.
Yes.
Oh,
and that's what I was
going
to say is like, I think in the long run, this is going to go down as like a footnote in the history of Scarlett Johansson's eventually more interesting directing career. Like, I think this is a good way to get her feet wet and sort of like establish her bona fides before she does something more interesting.
So this isn't a Don John situation.
No.
Okay, it's better than that.
This is better than Don John.
Okay.
Low bar,
Well, sure.
low bar.
All right, so with that, we're going to wrap it up here on the latest edition of the Movie Joust podcast. I'm Jason Evans. He is Josh Sewell.
Oh, hi.
He's Jesse Nussman.
Sorry.
What are you doing? What's wrong?
I don't know.
Like, don't talk over me.
So I'm sorry.
I'm the host. Don't talk over me.
Dude, I'm in charge this episode.
I like you in charge. I get to be sillier. I feel like it's a good balance. I don't know why we've been trying to make me the straight man on this show for like a year.
You are not the straight man.
No.
All right, our recommendations. You got to go watch one battle after another. And if you want to watch Eleanor the Great, yeah, it's good. It's not bad. It's worth checking out.
Give it a shot.
There you go. Coming up in the next couple weeks, what we got? We got a Smashing Machine.
Yeah, next week, do we want to talk Smashing Machine and the Best Actor race? Because I feel like so much of the narrative around the Smashing Machine is like, oh, the Rock's really campaigning for Best Actor.
But in addition, you've got Anemone opening next week, the return of Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, so extra perfect. Perfect. We can talk about like both of those in context. Because I don't know who's campaigning for Best Actor. But
in a last second, I was trying to make like an MMA metaphor, but that's not my world. Like Benny Safdie had the Smashing Machine all carved out for next weekend, and then Taylor Swift off the top rope.
Oh yeah, tough beat for Benny.
So he's gonna have to settle with a second place opening, I think.
Well, all right. So that's the big tease. Here's what we got coming at us next week. Until then, adios.
See ya.